David never imagined that fixing a busted fuel line on a remote mining outpost would change his life forever. The Kepler 440 to station was supposed to be a quick stop, 3 days of repairs, then back to Earth with enough credits to finally buy that coastal property he'd been dreaming about. But when he found Penelope huddled in Cargo Bay 7, with a child clinging to her iridescent blue skin, all those plans evaporated like atmosphere from a hull breach. "Please," she had whispered in surprisingly fluent English, her violet eyes reflecting the dim emergency lights. "They're hunting us." David should have reported her immediately. The Galactic Concordat had strict rules about harboring refugees, especially ones from restricted zones. But something in those eyes, something desperate and fiercely protective, made him think of his own mother, who'd hidden him from debt collectors when he was young. He made a choice that would define everything that followed. "Stay quiet," he'd said, grabbing a thermal blanket from the supply locker. "I'll figure something out." That was 6 months ago now. David stood in the makeshift dwelling he'd constructed in the abandoned mining sector, watching Penelope prepare the evening meal. Her species, the Valorian, possessed for arms that moved with elegant efficiency, chopping vegetables he'd smuggled from the hydroponics bay, while simultaneously stirring a pot of synthesized protein. Her child, Kessa, sat cross-legged on the floor, practicing the human alphabet David had been teaching her. "David," Kessa sounded out carefully, her bioluminescent freckles pulsing with concentration. "Am I saying it right?" "Perfect, kiddo," David replied, ruffling the crown of crystalline formations that pass for hair on Valorian children. Over the months, this strange little family had become more real to him than anything he'd left behind on Earth. Penelope set down her utensils and turned to face him. In the low light, her skin shimmered like moonlight on water. "David, we need to talk." Those four words carried weight in any language. David sat down at their salvage table, suddenly aware of how domestic this all felt. How right it felt, despite the absurdity of the situation. "The Concordat patrols have increased," Penelope began, her primary hands folded while her secondary hands continued their work almost unconsciously. "They know someone's hiding in this sector. It's only a matter of time before they find us." David had known this day would come. He'd planned for it, even, stockpiling supplies and mapping escape routes through the station's maintenance tunnels. "I've got a ship prepped in Bay 43, unregistered. We can leave tomorrow night during the shift change." "That's not what I want to discuss." Penelope's eyes met his, and David saw something there that made his heart hammer against his ribs. "My people, we don't form bonds easily. Our species is dying, David. The war with the Kreth Empire has decimated our population. I fled because I wouldn't let them take Kessa to be raised as a soldier." She moved closer, her presence overwhelming his senses with the faint scent of ozone and something sweeter. "Like alien flowers, among Valorians, when a parent finds someone trustworthy enough to share the burden of child-rearing. It's more than partnership, it's survival, it's hope." David's mouth went dry. "Penelope, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that Kessa loves you. She calls you David like it's the most important word in the universe." Penelope's lower hands reached out, taking his calloused human hands in her cool, smooth grip. "I'm saying that in 6 months, you've shown more care and courage than any Valorian male ever did. I'm saying that my species needs genetic diversity to survive, and humans are compatible with us in ways the Concordat would never allow us to explore." The implications crashed over David like a tidal wave. "You want me to father my next child?" "Yes." Penelope's bioluminescence intensified, a sign of emotional vulnerability he'd learned to recognize. "And not just that. I want you to stay with us forever, if you'll have us. Not on this dying station, but somewhere we can build a real life. Somewhere Kessa can grow up free, and where our family can expand." David thought about Earth, about that coastal property, about the normal life he'd always assumed he'd lead. Then he looked at Kessa, carefully writing his name over and over, and at Penelope, this fierce alien woman who'd trusted him with her most precious treasure. Humans had always been good at adapting. It was their greatest strength, the reason they'd spread across the stars when so many other species had crumbled. They fell in love with strange worlds, strange ideas, and yes, sometimes strange people. They built families in the most unlikely places and called it home. I need to know something first, David said, his voice steady despite the enormity of what he was about to commit to. This isn't just about survival for you, is it? This isn't just about needing a compatible genetic donor? Penelope's hands trembled slightly. No, she whispered. When you first covered us with that blanket, when you risked everything without even knowing our names, I felt something I never expected to feel again after fleeing my world. Safety. And then it became more. You make me laugh, David. You make Kessa laugh. You make this cold station feel warm. David stood, pulling Penelope into an embrace that should have been awkward with their different anatomies, but somehow wasn't. Then yes, to all of it. The child, the family, the forever. But we do this right. We get off this station, find somewhere safe, and we build something worth protecting. Kessa looked up from her writing, her young face bright with joy she couldn't quite understand yet. Are you staying, David? Forever? Yeah, kiddo, David said, his voice thick with emotion. Forever, outside the makeshift dwelling, the station's artificial night cycle hummed on, oblivious to the strange little family making impossible promises in the darkness. Tomorrow, they would run. Tomorrow, they would face whatever came together. But tonight, they were simply home. And for David, the human who'd hidden an alien mom and her child, who'd been asked to father the next generation and stay forever, that was more than enough. It was everything.